Welcome to the March edition of the American Bus Association's Motorcoach Travel News. I'm Dan Ronan in Washington. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration says it's cracking down against illegally or unsafe motorcoach companies.
The ABA believes that for too long, those companies, such as the ones operating motorcoaches in the recent fatal accidents in California and Oregon, have damaged the good name and reputation of companies that do believe in safety and obeying the rules and regulations. ABA has been outspoken in its support of the crackdown, with recent media appearances on CBS, CNN, and many other media outlets. Here's a portion of those two stories.
The new law calls for safety fitness ratings, mandates seatbelts on new buses, and requires safety standards be developed for roof strength, anti-ejection, and rollover protection. But 130 recommendations were left out, including ways to make it easier to take repeat offenders off the road, which helps explain how there have still been 5 serious bus accidents in the last month and a half, injuring or killing scores. Bus industry spokesman Peter Pantuso.
What's your defense of the case that happened out in California just last week?
There is no defense for a company like that to be operating. That company never should have been allowed to be on the road. They should have been shut down a long, long time ago, in our opinion.
We would never see hours of service violations in aviation. Pilots will not bust their hours, but we see it routinely on the highways.
The DOT says it's launching a crackdown targeting high-risk motor coach companies like those involved in the fatal crashes. Even representatives of the bus industry say it's about time.
The 53 or 55 people who get on a motor coach, their safety, their well-being is just as important as the 53 or 58 people who are on an airplane flying from Charlotte to Washington, D.C. on a regional jet. Recently, the troubled Boston carrier Feng Hua was shut down by FMCSA and Massachusetts officials.
Just days before the shutdown, ABA President Peter Pantuso and Senior Vice President for Government Affairs and Policy Clyde Hart met with U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood to discuss getting troubled carriers off the road. ABA has been very supportive of the government agencies as they tackle the issue of unsafe companies like Feng Hua to get them off the road permanently.
And just this past week, ABA President and CEO Peter Pantuso was the guest on the Jim Bohannon Coast to Coast radio show, heard on more than 500 stations.
It is rather rare to have on this program an industry representative who says, please, more federal regulation, but I gather that's what you're saying.
Well, and that's a message that we've carried for a long, long time. And I've been with the association 17 years, and even before I got there, we've constantly gone to the Department of Transportation and said, you know what, we need to be regulated more. Not necessarily more regulation, but certainly more enforcement. We need to get the bad companies off the road. And in some cases, we're finally starting to see that with the companies that you just mentioned.
The topic once again was motorcoach safety and what the industry, and in particular ABA, is doing to make it safer. In recent weeks, ABA has also done numerous interviews on SiriusXM's Road Dog Trucker program hosted by Mark Willis as we get our message out about improving motorcoach safety.
The full interview with Pete is now available on our website at buses.org, and there are ways that you too can also make the roads safer.
The ABA is urging you, our members, to help by calling the U.S. Department of Transportation if you see an unsafe operator on the highway. There are several ways you can do that, and we're putting on the screen the phone numbers and website addresses.
We have important new information about the Americans with Disabilities Act. The U.S. Department of Transportation is now reviewing the law as it pertains to over-the-road motor coach operators.
The U.S. DOT says the review will assist the government with decision-making to modify or retain certain regulations within the law. Motor coach companies and all interested parties will have until April 29th to comment. If you have questions about the ADA review or you'd like to register your comments, call the ABA office in Washington. We're here to help. The number is 1-800-282-2877 or email us at info@buses.org.